Welcome to another episode of Milesh and Sadie Property Talks, where today I'm joined by Mike Sandu of SE Architecture. Hi, Mike.
Hi there, Milesh.
We're going to be covering from a development angle what we need to be looking at when we're working with an architect, and we'll cover the process of development and the importance of having the right trusted team member on board. So, Mike, just give us a quick intro on you, what you do.
So Mike Sandu, partner, co-director of SE Architecture. We're an architectural practice covering all aspects of architecture.
Cool. Okay, so today I want to focus on the development process. So let's start from the start. How, from a developer's angle, can we best ensure we find the right architect to work with?
I think you need to have a good relationship with an architect, but also ensure that the architect's on the same page and understands it's for a development.
Okay.
They've got evidence of doing development work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite key.
Okay, so got a project, I'm ringing round, I'll get on with you, hopefully. What's the process look like in terms of quotes? How do you base your quotes? What information do you need to be able to assess that and give me a decent idea of costs?
Okay, so if you're starting from scratch, just looking at a site, you'll probably pick up the phones. I'm thinking of buying or looking at this site.
Mm-hmm.
I need that address and any information you've got on that property.
Okay.
Okay, so we would start by feasibility drawings, something really quick. You've probably got an idea, you've probably visited this property site. You've got a number in your head how many units you need to make it stack, but don't have it on paper.
Okay, fine. So initial feasibility is fairly low entry cost wise.
Correct.
But it will give me a decent idea on what I'm thinking is viability wise.
Yeah, it's to give you more confidence at an early stage. However, because it is cheap entry, for us, the information we can provide you is only as good as the information you can provide us. So if we're working off agents' plans or old drawings from the planning portal, something, PDFs, the quality is only going to be as good as what we've got.
Okay, cool. So initially concept stage is great. Then obviously we'll need to go into more detail.
Right.
So I've got the offer accepted. We're now going forwards with it. So what do we need to do to get an accurate set of drawings for planning, assuming we've decided it's PD rather than full planning?
Okay, we still need a digital survey, topographical survey, so measuring the building property as it currently is.
Yep.
Okay, so floor plans, elevations, floor ceiling heights, levels around the property.
Okay, and that gives you enough?
That gives us enough to start drawing.
Okay, fine. And from a quote perspective, obviously we've worked together on a couple of projects before. Your quotes are based around the RIBA stages.
Yeah, our IBA stages. Yeah.
So why is that, and what's the importance of it?
So it's basically benchmarking for you as the client and us to know what stages we're at, how much it's going to cost you at each stage, the scope of work or what we're going to do per stage. There'll be some exclusions. You'll want us to do additional work. There'll be other consultants in certain stages. There might not be.
And all of that will be mapped out
in that
at the early stages. Okay, so project management then.
Yes.
So it's an interesting trail of thought. There's two trails of thought here. One, typically the architectural practice will be the design team lead. There's a little bit around nervousness from developers on going ahead with that because of the independence angle, in that I want somebody who, it could be less risky for me if I've got a third party project manager type setup versus the architectural practice as a design team lead. Just give me your open thoughts on that.
So even if you have an external project manager, you still need someone to lead the design team.
Okay.
So the design team lead will discuss your project with your project manager.
Okay.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the design team leads until you get to building regs, until you start on site. That's when you need an external project manager.
Okay.
Because we will be with the planning consultant leading up to getting planning or PD. What's your design team manager doing? He could be doing site setup, prep on site.
Yeah.
But until you've got those documents produced by the architects, there's not
Yeah,
much
so
you're designing.
I'm seeing it as the project manager will take a lot of the role of the developer in the early stages,
okay.
and then work with the architectural practice and other consultants, so that yes, you may lead the design team, but the project manager is almost your face into the client.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that would work.
Is that something that happens on, I
It
guess,
does
larger sites?
It does happen on larger sites, where you have a PM running the project, the overall project, but 9 times out of 10 they step aside and they can't really or won't get involved in the design until it's ready for site. So
Okay.
either at technical stage or building regs, depending on which way you want to go.
Okay. And other professionals. So if you're first time developer, obviously the architectural practice is going to be a solid first port of call. What about other professionals like your structural engineers, M&E consultants, just to get surveys done? There's a whole range of professionals that sit within that
100%,
team.
yeah.
Where's your role in that?
So we, like most practices, work with all these consultants. So we are quite happy to put people forward.
Okay.
Depending on their experience, their score rating in our practice, or we're quite happy to work with other consultants you put forward.
Okay. So again, if you are a first-time developer, then actually getting in with your architect and working with an architect at the early stages will help you open up the other consultants.
It will, yeah.
Potentially.
You could leverage off your architect's black book.
Exactly,
easily.
and that's the point. And then you could choose to go and get a second opinion or
100%.
get another couple of quotes for validation.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said for working with people that the architect has worked with previously, because they've got some form there and they're not building new relationships.
Correct.
It might put more pressure on a project manager if you've got an external project manager. Is that fair to say? Just because they have to work harder to coordinate everyone.
They do, but if you've got an external project manager, if for one, like invoicing, if you work with an architectural practice that's going to put the whole design team together, project manager, client gets one invoice.
Yeah.
And we've got leverage on those consultants. Whereas you as a first-time developer, you're going to get a number of invoices and you've got no leverage on getting certain elements of projects done. Your structural engineer or civils engineer could be holding up the whole project.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're working under the architect, we tend to set a program out and ensure that we meet it because we've got to do the final check and issue.
That's really interesting. That's quite a key point, isn't it? Because that external or third party, if you like, coming in could have a significant impact on the project if you haven't got the right processes in place to manage the project. It can be done, don't get me wrong, I think it can be done,
100%.
But it comes at a little bit of a higher risk.
There is a risk
on your timeline.
Yeah, on your timeline. That's the biggest delay that could come up at the design stages, is that a consultant isn't performing, but we've got no leverage on it.
Yeah. So a cheap fee doesn't mean better, because it will cost you in other ways.
Potentially, yes.
And then there's likely to be some friction.
Potentially, but when and if this ever happens, we've got no leverage. We can't actually, call up the consultant and say, well, when are we going to get them?
Yeah.
We will get the response back, but you're not our client.
Yeah.
Because they're paying the client direct.
Yeah, got it. So give me an example of where things have gone really well within that kind of setup of design team versus what's not gone so well.
As an example, let's say that we have a site, we get the whole design team together, we sit down with the client, we try and, with the design team being there, everyone together on day one, everyone's asking the questions. We're ironing out potential risks and issues straight away. When we haven't done it that way and the client's brought in an external consultant, for argument's sake, they're going to ask the questions after. They may not be present because the client's decided that we'll have this design team and we'll get the consultant involved later. So they're a foot behind already.
Right. Okay. Which again leads to the cost time
100%
issue.
yes.
Okay. What would with your with your knowledge of the process,
Yeah.
what would be your top 2 or 3 things that you've seen developers do well?
Taking advice from the lead consultant. Ultimately, we can highlight risks and show the client the risk, the client's prerogative if they want to listen or not. They've got to make that call. I think that's the key thing, is just having a really good relationship with developer clients who will actually take on board. It's really difficult at times because some developers, if it's especially a first-time developer, they get very personal. They think it's their home, and it's just having that conversation to say, remember why you're doing this. This isn't your home.
And it's that battle between design versus pounds and pence at the end of the day.
100%.
You've got to, it's that head over heart link to it, right? Because you might want it designed the best way possible. If you ain't going to make any money, then why are you even bothering?
No, 100%. Have you fallen foul to that at any stage?
No. In fact, probably the other way.
Okay.
Where in my own house, I'm more head than heart.
Right.
So I've not done stuff that perhaps I should have done years ago. And only recently, as the penny started dropping, actually, I live here.
Yeah.
So I need to feel comfortable in this space.
It's like a builder. Builder's house is never built. Yeah.
Yeah. And accountants are rubbish with their own numbers. So that type of thing, you fall foul of it, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to an accountant, and he was like, "I'm so risk averse, and I don't want my kids to inherit that. So I want them to get into property a little bit, because I'm so risk averse." Wow. And the same applies to all professions, really.
Yeah.
Unless you've got the old graphic designer, the old interior designer whose house is like spot on.
Showroom.
Yeah, I can't think who that may be. Right, Mike.
Okay.
What else you got? Anything else that developers should be aware of? Any red flag type moments?
I think if you've got a really good relationship with your architect, and do you know what? Sometimes it's going to cost you a little bit, but taking an architect to visit a site with you will pay dividends. Just, we're not architects, or technicians are not, jack of all trades, but they have a better understanding of how buildings are put together than a developer, potentially, especially if you're starting afresh. They're more likely to see things in a building and highlight risks to you as a client than not taking one.
Cool. We'll put in the comments a link of how people can get in touch with you.
Thank you.
My takeaways from it really is relationships are everything. You've got to build that relationship with the architect as best as you possibly can. Yes, cost is a factor, but don't undervalue the fact that time is just as important, if not more important, than cost when you're running through a project, because these projects can take, from 6 months up to a couple of years. Right. So if that couple of years turns into an extra year, then the cost implication of that is huge. And really consider the other consultants that are going to be involved, and whether or not you want to lean on your architect's relationships with them to, again, minimize your cost and time delays that might be there.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mike. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
No doubt we shall bring you back at some point. So that brings us to the end of this one. Hopefully that's given you a real decent angle from a developer's perspective on the importance of a relationship with an architect and how you can work together throughout the length of your project. So join us again, and don't forget to share this and like it and forward on to anybody else who may be interested.